And a warm welcome to the video where I'm flying with Lufthansa today. First leg from Hamburg to Frankfurt in economy and the second leg from Frankfurt to Birmingham in business class. If that sounds good, stay tuned. So here I am situated in my Airbus A321 in economy. Pretty decent legroom, but then it's only a 35-minute flight between Hamburg and Frankfurt. And here's our jet for this first leg. This Airbus A321, just 12 years old, and it looked in pretty good condition from what I could see. Hamburg was pretty busy. It was an evening flight over to Frankfurt, but we were soon on the runway and headed over to Frankfurt. Now, there are direct flights between Hamburg and London, but not between Hamburg and Birmingham, so I chose to take this flight. Not only was it cheaper, but I also thought it would be cool to see the difference between Lufthansa's economy and business class offer. The original economy fare round trip was about 200 quid, but I chose to upgrade the Frankfurt to Birmingham portion, and that was about 59 euros to upgrade to business class. It was something that I was offered in the app. It was a lovely, smooth and quick takeoff into the evening and crisp Hamburg sky. It was a pretty good view, in fact. Now, as soon as we'd reached some sort of cruising altitude, it seemed like we were already descending. This is, remember, a 35-minute flight between these two cities of Hamburg and Frankfurt. Here we are making our approach and soon landing into Frankfurt. German efficiency prevailed and we arrived actually a little bit early. What I actually love about Frankfurt though is just the range of aircraft types. Here on the left is a Boeing 747-8. Don't see too many of them around nowadays. Soon we were at the gate and it was time to wander through the enormous Frankfurt concourse. It really is a big airport, and actually, of course, my flight leaving for Birmingham was miles away from when we got off from Hamburg. I thought these little lanes that led up to the gates were a really good idea, by the way. Anyway, lots of walking to come, so I'll speed through this, and here we are in the right part of Frankfurt Airport as I now seek the lounge. My €59 upgrade gave me access to the Lufthansa business class lounge, which I thought was a really nice touch, and I had a couple of hours here to spare, so it was really welcome as I waited for my flight back to Birmingham. Following a fairly unenthusiastic welcome from the people at the front desk to the lounge, the first thing I noticed was it was really busy. It was about 7 p.m, so I'd guess there was quite a lot of long-haul jets that were getting ready to leave, hence the lounge was really busy. It did calm down a little bit later on. I'll be honest, looking at the food selection and the selection of drinks, I wasn't really that blown away, if I'm completely honest. It was a nice place to be though for a couple of hours, and the coffee was pretty good too. Now, I travel a reasonable amount, so I was interested to see that Lufthansa is now trying to tempt people that have British Airways or Iberia status. So check that out. If you have a look, you might be able to match your current silver or gold status to get an equivalent status with Lufthansa. That might be worth your while if you travel regularly, certainly within Europe. It was about 8:45 now, so you can see the lounge was virtually empty, and I thought I'd give us a quick view of all of the bits and pieces that were on offer. As I say, I wasn't hugely blown away by the offer, if I'm honest. The food was just okay. Anyways, it was time to get to the gate soon enough, and I was wandering again through this massive airport. Now, unbeknownst to me, we were all queued at this little pen area, and I hadn't actually twigged at that point that that meant we were going to be going on a bus. But sure enough, that's exactly what this was for. Didn't take too long though, and before long we were all being ushered towards the bus to head out to the apron for our flight. I will say, I think the Lufthansa app's actually really clever, as it helps guide you through the airport and make sure you're in the right place at the right time. Anyways, here's our Airbus A320 that's going to get us from Frankfurt over to Birmingham. It's in this really unique Lufthansa livery, as you can see here. I think this was something to do with the Euros. We all know I'm a geek, and actually I really love to be bussed to an aircraft. There's something really retro about boarding an aircraft via the stairs, and of course I can get these lovely gratuitous AvGeek shots for all of you, and me of course. Aside from the Lufthansa titles, this aircraft sports the new-ish Lufthansa livery. A lot of people didn't really like it, but I don't think it looks too bad. Now, here's the business class cabin. You'll notice it doesn't look hugely different to the economy cabin that I was sat in before. The only real difference is there's perhaps a little bit more legroom, and the middle seat is left free in each set of 3 in economy. I had a pretty decent view, but I also had pretty much the cabin almost to myself. I think there were 2 other passengers on board with me. And here you have it. This is really what business class means if you're flying in Europe. That seat in the middle makes it business class. To be fair, the legroom actually wasn't too bad at all anyways. And yes, again, this is ultimately exactly the same seat that I'd just flown on from Hamburg over to Frankfurt in economy. There is really no difference at all. I think it's why this particular class of service, it's called business class, but it gets such a lot of flack for the fact that it calls itself business class. It really isn't. We were soon aloft after a very speedy taxi and takeoff, which I appreciated as time was getting on, but we did ultimately leave on time. Only when you're in the air do you get a real sense of the scale of Frankfurt Airport. It is absolutely enormous. We're still flying over the airport, can you believe that? Soon we were in the cruise and the mood lighting was switched on. As you can see, it was a very empty cabin. I will say the crew were absolutely lovely. Soon they handed out this snack. I'll be really honest and say that it was some sort of cold meat platter. I wasn't overly impressed. I know it was a short flight, but wow. People give BA a hard time, but I thought this was pretty poor, to be honest. It was a lovely chocolate though, so I did appreciate that. Before too long, we were already on our approach to Birmingham, a flight time of about 1 hour and 25 minutes. Oh, and you did get free Wi-Fi messaging in business class. I'm not actually sure if you get that anyways if you were a Lufthansa Miles and More member, but anyways, I appreciated that nonetheless. Here we are, riding up next to one of Lufthansa's big competitors in Europe, KLM, and an on-time arrival at Birmingham. What's the verdict then? Well, it was a good flight, or pair of flights I should say. It was on time, the staff were nice, apart from the lounge who were a bit grotty, but other than that it was a decent experience. Would I pay again to fly Lufthansa intra-Europe business class based on this experience? Probably not. I have to say the likes of KLM and British Airways, I think, do that bit better. Anyways, thanks so much for watching my video, and thanks too to those who already follow me. I really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again very soon.